Welcome to the Murders at Tealwoods Manor media release event. We got all of our guests into this fancy location and all dressed up to come and play our soon-to-be released on Kickstarter reverse murder mystery worker placement and drafting board game to get a sneak peek at exactly what the game is like. And after playing a little bit of the game, we then conducted a post-game interview with the players, so you'll be able to get a chance to hear directly from them what they thought and how they enjoyed the game. And then after that, we have an interview with me, Keith, the designer, where we got to talk a bit about the process of putting the game together.
There was a moment when we were playing where Charles placed the murderer in the room with someone, and it was like this moment where I knew our goals were not aligned, and I was like, oh no, we're gonna murder this person, we're gonna keep him alive. And then you had the last turn, like last player to go, and
like,
there was
what you gonna do?
There's nothing we could do to stop it.
When you clearly wanted us to end the game, we were just like, no.
I was certain everybody would be aligned with me. We need to get rid of this murderer, and yet I was betrayed. There was two people here who did not want that to happen.
I mean, I was across the table. I could kind of tell that you were like, yeah, no, I'm not about letting the murderer just
No,
die.
we have to kill the murderer.
Well, didn't you ask like
I
right
was so
before?
ready. I had this move in my head, and then Charles comes along and just destroys it. This is
Very,
not what I wanted.
very well played though, very well played. But that was definitely a surprising moment where I was like, oh, now the game's getting real.
Yeah.
Very well played, even though you still ended up winning.
Yeah.
Did you expect anything less?
Well, I think also because of the whole hidden nature of it, I was like my entire hand was kill everyone. So I was like, okay, I don't care who dies. So I was just like moving people, trying to get them in the same room as the killer, and like it was just I guess luck of the draw. So I think I ended up cutting you quite heavily.
Damn, I had a save everyone hand, so I wanted to kill as little people as possible. Definitely wanted to kill the murderer, but
I was the same. I had one person I was trying to kill and the rest was save. And with that one person, I was constantly trying to find the murderer to put them in the room with them, but I just wasn't good at killing people off.
In my head, I had kill the investigator, which would have essentially mean that we would have had to do all 6 rounds, but I wasn't able to do it fast enough. So then I was like, well, I just can't get this one.
See, I think with the benefit of hindsight, you and I, if you had started being like putting a piece inside the foyer and being like, who's got the investigator? Like, because like I think I was signposting quite hard early. That I was looking for Lady Tealwood, or Tealwoods technically. I was like, where is she? Who has her? Who has her? Who has her? Because I was like, I just want to knock her out the gate. Because I'm like, I just have to get every one of them. Yeah, I think I probably could have helped you on that potentially. Because there were a couple times where I did actually pick up the investigator and I was like, I don't really want these two in the same room together, but they could kill another off. Because I was like, for the murderer to die, the investigator kind of has to be alive.
Yeah,
So I was like,
definitely.
There was definitely a turning point where us as new players going to this game, like throughout the rounds, we're learning what strategies work best to figure out who is where. And it was like people started filling up the foyer faster. People started using these investigation tokens to turn over these tokens faster. And we're all now tracking who has what. And I remember there's rounds where I'm like, okay, who has the murderer? And then seeing if they have 1 token left or 2 tokens left. Or if they only have 2, you have to just reveal the other one to find out where is the murderer. And tracking that became really important.
Yeah, I think
Knowing what everyone else had
Yes.
became very important.
huge advantage if you could work out what someone else had.
so like that. The play became for us, I guess, foyer. It's like who's got what.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. and then it's like okay, sub people away from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
More people to the foyer.
And in the later turns of the game of each round, like having the billiards room open and suddenly you're able to make those really important swaps, or if you had that last player token, using the atrium to swap someone in you to keep safe that might have died earlier.
Yeah.
Big moves.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked right into that one at the end. I was like, if I do this, maybe I get away. Nope. Oh, I guess I lose that.
Yeah, and with me having so many of the keep alive like objectives, having that kitchen kind of open, I was like, okay, if there's a murder in here with me, that would be bad, but I know where the murder is and it's not in the kitchen. So I can safely put these characters to keep safe in here and I know they won't be targeted around. Hello, I'm Elise and I am here with Keith Franks, the creator of Murders at Tealwoods Manor. Keith, tell me about your game.
So this is inspired by my recent efforts in taking existing, well-known games and trying to turn a new idea into it. My one before this was Let a Drop, which is what you would imagine Scrabble and Connect 4 if they were put together.
Okay.
And so this is an attempt at some of the development that's happened in the social deduction genre in recent years, coming and rebuilding Cluedo from the ground up.
Awesome. So what sets your game apart from games like Cluedo that already exist?
Well, this is a reverse murder mystery. In Murders at Tealwoods Manor, the reverse murder mystery aspect comes from you already know who the murderer is at the start of the game. You already know who the investigator is and you know who the host of the party is. What you are trying to find out is what the goals of the other players are and who is murdered along the way.
Tell me about the development process. How did it go for you?
So we had a pretty clear-cut initial spec where I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to have character tokens being placed into the mansion to activate the abilities. And once I kind of had an initial balance put together, I then had to come back and look at some other mechanics because I had a really bad tiebreaker mechanic at the beginning. And then in changing that, I added what is now the gossip system. And running some demos at the Game Expo at the most recent convention we had it at, the gossip mechanic was pretty much everyone's favorite thing happening because it gives you a lot of interaction with other players directly. And then it now breaks ties, as well as allowing the investigator to shoot one person that they think is the murderer, maybe isn't the murderer. They got misled by gossip.
I like the theming there. So I see you have this beautiful box here. Can you tell me about the process of creating the art we see in your game?
Yeah, so fun fact, actually 5 different artists had to come together to create this project.
Wow.
And under a time crunch as well, because I released a Steam version of the game, which is kind of like a story process that you have to go through and learn about the characters. And I wanted to have everything ready for that. And then a lot of that translated to this. But we have, for example, the different character art is done by Billy Blue, which you can see up here on the poster behind me and on the side.
See the similarity there?
Exactly. And then we also have David Richards did all of the graphics design for it, so you'll see all the rulebook layout and the box design was all by him. But the front cover art is by James Churchill. He's another Australian illustrator, one of my favorites. And then all of the backgrounds were done separately by Rainbow Philosopher. So all of these individual separate elements had to all come together to create a very similar feel, get the right consistency across like the time period and the character design, all that kind of stuff. And none of these people talked to each other. Everyone was kind of under the same kind of directions, and everyone had like a really good cornerstones and was able to build something that actually came out like really, really well together.
That's awesome, and it's amazing how well the art has come together to create this one piece. How did you find the communication to bring all these people who've never been able to talk to each other together to create this?
Some of it's really easy. Some of the artists that have been doing it for a long time, I would be like, yeah, this is kind of what I have an idea for, and they'll send references or sketches or whatever. For example, with the box art, I drew an outline of kind of what I was thinking. And we talked through it and it was like, you don't want this table here in the shot, we're gonna fix this other thing and maybe some of that, oh, here's what the framing should be. And for me, the game designer, I'm like, I want logo here, I want names here, I want guide bed here. And then he kind of redid some of that and it came out looking really, really good. And then other stuff was like the actual backgrounds. I had an idea of what the room was going to be, and then we just had to kind of find how we wanted to position the different elements in it. Like for example, the billiards room has like a very skewed perspective on how the room is put together. Or the atrium, which is the indoor fish pond, which is very strange and impossible to find reference art for. And then a lot of stuff is me doing very terrible MS Paint sketches to try and communicate these ideas to my artists. But it was such a fantastic bunch of talented people that I entirely met by chance. and did so much fantastic work to build what is a gorgeous looking game.
It really is. And I hear you have so many ideas about what it was exactly supposed to look like and the sketches. Do you think having that strong vision from the start helped you bring it together faster?
Most of the strong vision comes from mechanical game design and stuff. So the very, very old prototype that I put together with like historical art and stuff like that, because the time period was different, it was done very quickly. I was like, this is exactly what I want. I want people drafting a guest and then putting the guest in the room, and that room activates. That was like the whole thing I cared about. And then coming back to it later and doing the character design, when we had the original historical art, in that time period, there's one kind of person. And I wanted to come back and redesign the characters so that I could tell more interesting and different stories with them, because I wanted some people that were, like, it's kind of a military theme and an anti-military theme at the same time as some of these characters. Like, for example, Captain Hughes is literally in uniform. And then Lana Roberts is like really punk and like kind of anti-military and stuff like that. And so being able to create these stories around these characters and have those semi-nemesis implications amongst these things was kind of what I was looking to do when it came to putting together those kind of things. But for the art, there really wasn't that much of a concrete vision. It was more figuring out how I was supposed to communicate something, but I had good touchstones. I knew where I wanted it to come from, or what it was trying to imitate, and using those kind of key elements to bring it all together.
Well, you mentioned the wide cast of characters you have. Do you have a favorite character?
It depends. I have some favorites for different things. Barra Townsend, who I often cast as the murderer because he looks like he probably could be, was like the art direction that I gave for him. I was like, I want something that fangirls are going to swoon over on Tumblr. I want someone that literally looks like the physical reincarnation of death, but he's a jewelry salesman. So he has a really nice tie and like a ruby studded tie clip, and he's got earrings and stuff in. So I wanted this like really weird accent to like a really stock kind of character story. So I really like that about him. But then like just the backstory and character, like inner voice and stuff like that. Lionel Ward is probably my favorite. That is the yellow character with the floppy bucket hat. And in the Steam version of the game, you get to learn more about the characters. And one of the things that people say about Lionel Ward is that he is so good at collecting gossip and knows so many things about people that people accuse him of being a mind reader very often. And I found that was a really funny thing to be able to play in and around with.
So you mentioned the Steam game. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so with the board game version, right? It's a reverse murder mystery. You're an all-knowing third party witnessing the events of the evening.
Yes.
In the Steam game, you select a guest and you're playing through the evening as that guest.
Oh.
And then the murderer is randomly selected from the people you didn't pick. So it could actually be anyone, and you are actually trying to solve the murder mystery yourself, like before you're killed or before too many people die. And you're directly interacting with the characters, and you're able to get story from the different characters, learn more about them. I wanted to create something that was more different story being able to be told about the same part of the game. Because in board games of this style, you tend to be, the story is what happened and the fun that we had with our friends, right? But then this is a story that you can engage with and learn more about it because it's there for you to explore, which is a different kind of storytelling. So I wanted to have both, and I wanted people that resonated with a particular type could go and explore that particular type. But then I also wanted to make something that was mechanically challenging for people to try and figure that out. But it gives a lot of the storytelling elements automatically when you're learning about the characters. For example, Lady Harris and Patricia Elmer arch nemesis, because Lady Harris is accused of murdering her husband, and Patricia Elm, who is a reporter, wrote an article about it, making it super public and really embarrassing, and so they are not on good terms. But while they're at the event, they have to maintain face. But then either one of them dies, everyone's like, we know that there was a feud. We know that you were really angry at each other. You probably wanted her dead. And then that gives you, oh, maybe that was the murder, or maybe it's just a coincidence. And then you're trying to investigate the story of what happens and unfolds. But it's completely randomly generated every single time.
That's
and
awesome.
You could play, I think it's about 12 million consecutive games without having an identical outcome.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous.
So you really get to see the inside story behind these characters and all the love that goes into creating these characters that you see in this game. So is it available now? Can we play it?
Yeah, it's free to play on Steam. It's what I would call 1/6 complete, because in the game there is 6 hours that you play through for each of the rounds, and at the end of each of the rounds, a person dies. You hope. In the Steam game, there's going to be the same thing. There's 6 different hours upon which a murder happened each hour. We have the first hour, which has like a big brick of the introducing all the characters and learning stuff about them. And then the other hours will have like slightly different things. Like it might be one of them is physical evidence or whatever. And then the updates will come out as we move along through the development of both the board game and like everything kind of ties together as we move along.
Amazing. So if you want a taster of what this game has, you should go check out that Steam game and give it a go. So Keith, now that we've heard so much about this game, how do we support you? How can we get ourselves a copy of it?
So currently we don't have a launch date, but we are going to be launching on Kickstarter. If you click the link in the description, we will have a landing page of the mailing list where you will get notified when we have a date, when it goes live, and when you'll be able to buy your own copy. But it is very soon.
Awesome. I cannot wait to get my hands on one. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Can you solve this reverse murder mystery?